This is your Q&A time, writing at 240 words per minute. Your proper names are Sherry, Gulf City, Carlson, Johnson, Johnson Chevrolet, Maxon Dodge, Wilson, Gulf City Ford, Lakeside, Napa, Robin, Mr. Parker, and Richard. Ready? Who was the friend that you were arguing with?
Sherry.
Were there any other cars involved in this accident?
No, just me.
Do you recall what injuries you had as a result of that accident?
Just my head that I know of.
When you say your head, did you hit the steering wheel?
Yes.
Do you recall if you treated with anybody for this accident?
I believe that I did.
Did you see any doctors after that?
No.
Did you have problems with your head after that?
Just headaches.
How did that affect your symptoms from the October 1994 accident?
How did it affect my head? It was just like regular headaches, and that was about it.
Any other symptoms that you would have had in the October 1994 accident and were not affected by the December 1994 accident?
No, sir.
I believe we were talking about this the other afternoon. It's a state law that they cannot be open on Sundays. Is that correct?
Right.
Gulf City, about the same thing, 8 to 10 hours a day?
I'd say closer to 10 or 12.
Again, 6 days a week?
Yes.
What about Carlson?
Carlson would be 10 to 12.
What about Johnson?
8 to 12.
Have you worked anywhere since Johnson Chevrolet?
No.
Are you looking for employment right now?
I have been pursuing it recently, yes.
What kind of employment are you looking for?
I'm still looking in the car business for now.
Well, why don't we start back with Maxon Dodge? Aside from missing time to go to doctor's appointments, were there times at Maxon Dodge that you did not feel capable of working?
Correct.
Can you indulge me and inform me? If you can, give me days of the week or how many hours in the day, that sort of information of how the pain would affect you.
The pain would just slow me down, interfere with reasoning.
At the interval you were at Maxon Dodge, were you taking any prescription medication?
Sometimes.
Do you remember what that might have been?
No.
Did it have the same effects on your performance, or did your pain have the same effects on your performance at Wilson?
Yes. The pain did affect me the same way.
Yes.
Basically, yes.
Did you miss time at Wilson to go to appointments and things like that?
I believe I did.
Gulf City Ford, did any supervisor ever say anything to you about missing time to go to appointments?
Not that I recall.
Did you miss time while you were employed at Gulf City?
Some. See, this business is set up on a performance basis, theoretically anyway. If you sell a car, that might be a good time to ask to leave to go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying?
So the more success you achieved, the easier it was to get time off?
Definitely.
Why don't we move off from the car dealership area now? Besides this car accident in the fall of '94, prior to this car accident, did you ever have any other car accidents?
Yes. I have had another automobile accident. I don't recall what year, maybe 90 or so.
Do you remember where it was?
That was in Lakeside. That was when I worked for Napa.
You were working for Napa at the time?
Right.
Were you actually at work when the accident occurred?
Yes.
Were you hurt in that accident?
No, I walked away from it, thankfully.
Besides the accident in 1990, have you ever been involved in any other accidents, whether as a driver or as a passenger?
When I was a small child, but other than that, no.
Do you remember any as a small child when you were with your parents or with your grandmother?
It was with my parents.
Just one other accident when you were a child?
Yes.
Were you hurt in that accident?
No.
Liability is clear in this, so we won't waste too much time. Why don't you tell me a brief description of what happened to you inside the truck during this accident?
Okay. The automobile in front of me proceeded left, and I started to go. I had my vehicle in first gear. I believe my foot was on the clutch. I didn't see the vehicle in my rearview mirror, and I didn't hear it. It just impacted me all at once, and my head hit the back glass. And then I rolled forward several yards before I realized where I was at, you know. I didn't realize what impacted me right at the beginning.
At the moment of the impact, how fast do you think you would have been going?
0 to 5. I was just starting to accelerate.
So it is possible that you were stopped, or you're certain that you were at least inching forward.
I'm certain my foot wasn't on the brake. I remember that much.
You didn't have any kind of headrest or anything in the truck that you were driving?
No, it stops at about the shoulder level.
What happened after your truck stopped moving? Did you get out and talk to the driver of the other automobile?
I got out of the truck.
You went and talked to Robin?
Correct.
What kind of conversation did you have, if you remember?
A very pleasant conversation.
Mr. Parker, I am here today representing the defendants in a lawsuit that you filed. Have you ever given a deposition before?
No.
You've just been sworn to tell the truth. I'm simply going to ask you some questions about yourself and about the accident that this lawsuit is about, and about some of the medical treatment you've had in various related matters. If at any time I ask you a question that just doesn't make sense, please ask me to restate it. I want to make sure that you understand the questions that I'm asking.
Okay.
If there's anything that you don't know or don't remember, please let me know that. If at any time your attorney enters an objection to one of my questions, please do not answer. Wait for him to give you further instructions. Richard, this young lady is going to be taking down what you say and the questions that are asked, what everyone says in this conference room. You have to respond verbally. Take your time and try to say things so she understands, okay?
All right.
We want to be certain she reports the correct responses. Just don't shake your head yes or no. The other thing that is important is it makes it a lot easier for this lady to do her job if I wait for you to finish your responses before I verbalize the next question. And if you wait for me to finish the question before you start answering. It's real hard to take down two people talking at once.
Yes.
I also noticed that you tend to speak pretty softly, Mr. Parker. So if you could speak up just a little bit, it will probably make it a little bit easier. What's your date of? This is your first Q&A time writing at 225 words per minute. Your proper names are Mr. Trainer, Loam Petroleum, Trainer, deposition number 17, Night Oil, Exxon, Smite, Exploration, Houston, Texas, Dow Chemical, Smite, Houston, Geophysicist, Loam, Eastern Colorado, Bighorn Basin, Paradox Basin, Utah, Gulf Coast, and Paradox. Ready? Mr. Trainer, how old are you, please?
36.
In April of 1982, when you joined Loam Petroleum, you would have been how old?
32.
According to Trainer deposition number 17, which is a resume, let me ask you, did you prepare this resume yourself?
I don't honestly recall, but I probably did, yes.
Well, did you provide the information that's contained in the resume?
Certainly.
When you say you don't recall, are you talking about someone typing it?
Right. Typing it or the actual date of when it was drafted to be typed.
During the course of this deposition, I've had occasion at least to note in my mind that you're a fairly careful person. Would you agree with that?
Oh, to a certain degree, I'm sure.
You like to think of yourself, however, as a careful person, do you not?
Oh, I guess we'd all like to think we're careful persons.
And you'd like to think of yourself as a prudent person.
I'm sure.
And would you also characterize yourself in your mind as a knowledgeable, intelligent person in the area in which you practice?
Yes.
Do you think you're good at what you do?
Yes.
Can I see the resume, please? You left Night Oil apparently in March of 1980, correct, according to your resume?
Can I take a look at my resume?
Are you having a difficult time remembering that?
I left Night Oil sometime in early 1980.
But you don't recall the month.
No.
What was the reason for your leaving Night Oil?
I guess I wasn't satisfied that Night Oil had the expertise of a company like Exxon, for example.
Is that the only reason for your leaving?
That was probably very dominant, if not the only.
Did you leave voluntarily?
Yes.
You then went to work for Smite Exploration, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you left Smite Exploration in January of 1981, is that correct?
That sounds reasonably close.
Well, if I said that your resume indicated January of 81, would that confirm it? Or is January of 81, as it appears on your resume, reasonably close?
It's probably reasonably close.
Well, do you know if you left in January of 81? Do you know if this is correct on your resume?
No, I don't. It probably is reasonably close.
So the resume could be incorrect in that sense.
To minor degrees, in terms of plus or minus a month or two, I'm sure it could be.
All right. What was the reason for your leaving Smite Exploration?
Well, Smite had a very high-pressured, intense, military-like environment, and I didn't like it.
I see. Then was your departure from Smite Exploration a voluntary departure?
Yes.
Did it provide the opportunity that you didn't have at Night Oil that you expected you might find at Smite?
Please repeat that.
You indicated that you left Night Oil for certain reasons because you wanted to go to a company such as Smite that provided better advancement.
More expertise.
Okay, did you find that at Smite?
Yes.
Where were you located when you were with Smite? Physically located? What state?
Houston, Texas.
You then apparently joined Dow Chemical, is that correct?
That's correct.
In Houston?
That's correct.
And you left there in March of 1982, is that correct?
That's correct, I believe.
Is that accurate, or is that just an estimate of when you left?
Again, we could be talking about plus or minus a month.
And what were the reasons for your leaving Dow Chemical?
They were about to be bought out by another company.
So what did that have to do with your leaving?
I didn't want to be there after the buyout when I suspected everybody would be fired or laid off.
What made you suspect that everybody would be fired or laid off?
It's a fairly common occurrence during buyouts of oil companies.
In advance, did you know that was going to happen?
I predicted it would happen, and it certainly did.
Your departure from Dow Chemical was voluntary then, is that correct?
Correct.
You then went to Loam Petroleum, correct?
Correct.
The resume indicates that you commenced work there in March of '82, is that correct?
That's correct.
So it could be off again as much as a month as to when you started at Loam Petroleum.
I don't honestly know if it was March or April, but one of the two.
And the resume indicates that you departed from Loam Petroleum in June of '83. Is that a true statement?
June or July.
So that could be off as much as a month as well.
That's true. I believe it was the 1st of July.
Now, could you tell us the reasons for your departure from Loam Petroleum?
There were 2 factors involved. The most important of the 2 factors was the fact that they had promised me $100,000 within the year. The second factor deals with Loam's poor financial position.
Well, are you saying that you were anticipating financial security as a result of these underwritings, and that was one of the reasons for your leaving Loam?
That was one of the reasons, yes.
Now, did you receive a paycheck from Loam on a regular basis?
Yes.
And did Loam ever miss a paycheck?
No.
So you were paid for every week or month that you worked at Loam?
That's correct.
You have no dispute with Loam at this time as to wages or salary, is that correct?
That's correct.
What were you expected to do for Loam in return for your salary, please?
My responsibilities included all aspects of geophysical exploration, literally. I was the only geophysicist there.
You were the only geophysicist there, is that correct?
That's correct.
I note on your resume at Loam you indicate that you're the chief geophysicist, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were chief of nobody else. Isn't that a fair statement?
No geotechnical people around.
How many other geophysicists were there? There were none, correct?
That's correct, but I still had the position of chief geophysicist.
That's a title that you had?
That's right.
What did you work on exclusively for Loam while you were at Loam, please?
I worked the eastern Colorado area, the Big Horn Basin area.
What else did you do at Loam?
I pursued some activities in the Paradox Basin in Utah, some work in the Gulf Coast area. I think that's the bulk of it.
What work did you do in the Paradox area in Utah?
Just some preliminary research, seeing what seismic was.
Okay, this is your second Q&A time writing at 225 words per minute. Your proper names are Vail, Steamboat, and Snowmobiling. Ready? Has the doctor given you any treatment?
Just trying to get me to deal with my condition as far as being depressed, and I am quick on the temper. No patience.
Could you tell me about that? I guess that's in the area of what we call emotional injury.
I guess you could call it that.
Because I asked you earlier about physical. Maybe I could ask you now for you to tell me any other types of injuries you sustained in this accident, in your opinion.
Well, it is the emotional with a lot of stress.
What kind of emotional stress were you having?
I was sitting around. I sat around for months. I just can't do anything. I'm not used to sitting around. I can't work on my cars. I can't work on the house. Just caused a bunch of problems with me.
Do you work on cars?
Yes.
Do you rebuild cars or do mechanical work?
Oh no, as far as cars, they always used to be highly polished, and that was just for appearance and the tune-ups, and I can't even rotate tires anymore and things like that. I just can't do any work on them. I can't work on the house. I can't do any yard work. There's quite a few things I can't do.
That's what you're talking about that caused you to be depressed and getting a little itchy sitting around the house?
Yes.
Now that you're back to work, has that lessened?
To a degree. It gives me something to do, but there is still a lot that I want to do and can't do.
What kind of things at the current time that you want to do but can't do?
Well, basically the same things. Like I got a list here that I wrote down of things I can remember.
Okay, maybe you can take a look at the list.
Things that I like to do. First is snowmobiling. I used to go up to a friend's house. I can't ski anymore.
Did you used to ski regularly?
Yes.
Where did you ski?
We skied at Vail and Steamboat.
What kind of a skier are you?
Fair, but the dangerous type.
Has the doctor told you not to ski, or is it something you feel in your own mind you should not be doing?
I was told by numerous therapists, anything that would jog my body, I can't do. I have a four-wheel drive truck, which I can't use anymore for four-wheeling.
Why is that? Because of the bouncing?
The bouncing. I can't go hunting. I can't even bird hunt because of walking down those rough fields. I have a hobby of doing cut glass. I can't even do that now because you have to bend down to cut glass. I can't take the stooping.
Did you work standing or sitting?
Standing.
Can you do it sitting at a table, for example?
I can't.
Okay, anything else?
And I had to buy a garage door opener. I don't have the strength to open a garage door.
So do you have a little electric one?
Yes, I can't sit too long if I go to a hockey game or something like that. I don't go there anymore. I can't stand too long. I'm kind of caught in the middle. I can't walk too long, and especially not up the hills, and that's taboo.
Do you get relief if you move around, for example, from sitting and then get up and walk around?
Yes.
Does that make you feel better?
Yes.
How long can you sit at one time without having noticeable discomfort?
Oh, an hour, hour and a half at times.
Anything else on your list there?
Well, let's see. I can't ski, can't dance, I can't work on the house.
Anything else, or have we pretty well covered it?
I have pretty well covered what I can think of.
Has the doctor given you any medications or anything like that?
No, he has not.
Basically just talk sessions?
Yes.
Has he given you any suggestions on how to improve?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
A lot of things which haven't helped.
All right. Do you know what loss of consortium means?
Yes.
Can you tell us in your own words what you know about any loss of consortium that your wife might have incurred as a result of your injuries?
Well, it's been very bad since the accident. Just too uncomfortable to do anything.
Has this affected your sex life at all?
Quite a bit, yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, it's non-existent almost.
And when did it first start to affect your sex life? How soon after the accident did you notice anything?
Well, since the pain was there, just too uncomfortable.
What kind of pain? The back pain?
Yes.
Now, the back pain has reduced in the past few months, has it not?
Reduced to a certain degree, yes.
Has there been any improvement upon your love life?
No, there hasn't.
It is true, is it not, that before the accident you had some problems with impotency?
A different type before the accident.
What kind of problem did you have with impotency?
Hard to get aroused, not real hard.
In fact, you had been to see a doctor for that, hadn't you?
I mentioned it to the doctor.
How long before the accident had you been having that problem?
I don't know.
Are there any other problems or injuries that you would describe that your wife might have incurred because of your injuries following this loss of consortium claim?
Injuries that she might have?
Inconvenience maybe, or tell me if you can, what other injury has your wife sustained as a result of your injury besides the effect on your love life?
I don't think I quite understand it.
Let me see if I can make it a little simpler. Loss of consortium doesn't mean just loss of lovemaking or loss of a sex life. It also means loss of companionship, loss of services such as your mechanical ability, loss of affection and aid. Is there any other effect your injuries have had on your wife other than the sexualness?
Mental. A lot of mental grief I've given her.
And you feel this comes from being depressed?
Yes, I do.
Now that you are back at work, has your frame of mind improved? Are you feeling less depressed?
To a degree, yes.
Are you easier to get along with than you were 6 months ago?
To a degree, yes.
Has your wife been to see any doctors, maybe psychiatrists or